When people think of UK punk, perhaps the first band that comes to mind is the Sex Pistols or The Clash, but it would be a scrappy group of young musicians called The Damned, who released the first punk single in the country's history. The band separated themselves from their contemporaries by choosing not to make politics front and center, instead focusing on topics like escapism and love. Today, let's talk about The Damned's first punk single, New Rose. The Damned's history is filled with so much internal strife that Guns N' Roses, who would cover New Rose years later, look like the Cosbys. Okay, maybe looking back, that's not a good analogy. The riff for the song New Rose predated the beginnings of The Damned, as guitarist Brian James came up with it when he played in a band called Bastard. He would recall to Louder Sound, "I was in Brussels in late '74 and I had this riff nagging at me. I played it with the drummer from Bastard, a guy called Nobby Goff, and he just didn't get it. He didn't set fire to it like he needed to. It was in limbo for a while, kind of like a homeless riff, he'd say." It wouldn't be until James met a drummer named Rat Scabies, named after a horrendous skin condition, that the foundation for the song was complete. The pair would jam at an old church in London's Lisson Grove, recalling, "When I first got together with Rat, we were still in the stages of getting the Damned together, finding a bassist and a singer and all that stuff. So I played him the New Rose riff and he just took to it like water. Bang, he was off. He just attacked it. It was perfect. Now I had something I could build a song around," he'd remember. As the band turned their attention to finding a vocalist and bassist, one musician who set up an audition but failed to show up was Sid Vicious, bassist for the Sex Pistols. The next person in line to audition was a gravedigger named David Vanian, who would remember his audition to the Guardian newspaper saying, "Brian shouted the lyrics in my ear while he played guitar, and I did the best I could. He'd seen me in the audience at some shows and told me, 'You look like a singer.' Before it became all torn clothes and spiky hair, punk was about individuality. I wore winkle pickers and was going for that 1920s Rudolph Valentino look. I'd seen a few Hammer horror films too, and I decided I wanted to live in Baron von Frankenstein's castle." The intro of the song, the line, "Is she really going out with him?" was inspired by the Shangri-La's Leader of the Pack, a song that Vanian was a huge fan of. Despite what some people may think, the song's lyrics were not inspired by a relationship, but the blossoming punk movement. With James explaining to Mojo Magazine in February of 2013, "Everyone thinks New Rose is about a girl or a new relationship, but it's not. It's about this emerging scene, this lovely buzz that you'd never dream could possibly happen. It was like, I've got my own swingin' 60s, that sort of vibe." The song was recorded quickly and cheaply, costing the band around £50, with producer Nick Lowe at Pathway Studios in North London. The band packaged the single with a B-side that included a frantic cover of the Beatles song Help, and New Rose would be released as the first punk single in UK history on October 22nd, 1976, a month before the Sex Pistols put out their first single, Anarchy, in the UK. James would tell the Guardian newspaper, "We thought we were a fast rock and roll band, but a journalist coined the term punk rock, so suddenly New Rose was the first British punk single." The Damned would stress that they were not in a rush to beat their peers to the stores, as they were friends with the Sex Pistols. In fact, one of their first gigs saw the Damned open for the Sex Pistols on July 6, 1976, at London's 100 Club. New Rose would appear on the band's debut album titled Damned, 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 which was released on February 18, 1977. Upon its release, New Rose wasn't a big hit commercially, but critics loved it, and the band soon found themselves on the cover of weekly music magazines, including Sounds and Melody Maker. James would look back almost 4 decades after the song came out, revealing to Louder Sound, "Listen, no one knows anything's a classic till after a certain amount of time, but as soon as we heard the playback, it was, whoa, that sounds great." That was the epitome of it. Here was a song I'd written, and it sounded absolutely magnificent. If I was to fall down an effing hole and never play again, I'd have that. If it all stopped tomorrow, I'd be so proud of actually having made a record that sounds so effing good, he'd remember. The song would be covered by Guns N' Roses on their 1993 album, The Spaghetti Incident, and it's been played extensively as part of their Not in This Lifetime tour. Bassist Captain Sensible would state that he never heard the cover of the song that Guns N' Roses did, as he doesn't listen to music past 1980, while frontman David Vanian would reveal in a 2016 interview his thoughts on the cover, saying, "It's not really my cup of tea because they knocked all of the life out of it by making it sound as though it has been played to a click track. I think all the spontaneity had gone out of it, but they obviously love the song and that's great. They're a good band with a great guitarist, so what can you say? If they had taken the song and completely redone it in a totally different way, then perhaps that would have been more interesting," he would say. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like button and subscribe, and we'll see you again on Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.